Guys.
Hi,
Hey, my name is Jenna Vaccaro, and I
I'm
am here with you guys with my colleague Marissa, and we are here to talk to you today about keyword research. Just going to give everybody a couple of minutes before we do our intros and get going. So I'll just give everybody about a minute, and then we'll get going. All right? Can you still hear me? Okay.
yeah, I can hear you.
All right, let's do it. We didn't plan our fall attire, I promise. All right, looks like we're getting a pretty decent amount of people jumping on now. So for those of you who are just joining, my name is Jenna, and I've been in SEO for a long time, uh, 13 years or so, 14 years. Really happy to be here talking about keyword research. I love SEO, love everything about it, from e-commerce to EDU. We focus a lot on that here at Mason. And I guess my favorite thing is, which is why we're kicking off this series of keyword research, is keyword research. So I love really getting down into it and figuring out what works the best for all of our clients. So this is Marissa. Marissa.
Hi, I'm Marissa Bavaro. I've been working in SEO for a few years now. I have experience with EDU, e-commerce, and some local SEO experience as well. I'd say my favorite thing about SEO is it relates to keyword research, of course. I like seeing how people search, how their minds work, and when I'm doing keyword research, I'm always surprised to see what people are searching for.
Yeah, same. All right, so we're gonna get started. I'm gonna share my screen, and we will have some time at the end for questions. So if you have any questions while we're chatting away, please feel free to use the chat feature on the right-hand side, and we'll try to get to as many as possible. All right, let's do this. I'm gonna share my screen. Yay. Let's do this. Okay, so those are our faces. So today we're talking about growing your traffic with the right keywords. And this is actually one of 3 webinar series that we're going to be doing this month and into October. Next, I believe it's in about 2 weeks, we're going to be focusing on content, SEO-driven content strategies, everything, outside of your traditional blog content. So don't miss that one. And then also there's 2 weeks after that, we're going to talk about how to measure and track SEO performance. So without further ado, today we're going to talk about a couple of things, Mason Interactive in a nutshell. We're going to talk about SEO keywords and why you need to perform research. We're going to talk about how you can go about identifying the most important and effective keywords. And then after that, we'll talk about how to attribute those to SEO best practices, and also kind of in tandem with that, how you implement these keywords. So you did all this research, you did all this work. How do you get them on your website, and how do you get people to come to your site? We're going to give you a couple of freebie tools to take away with, and then we'll answer some of your questions. If we don't, for some reason, get to all the questions, we will follow up with an email at the end of this, and there'll also be a recording of this webinar that we'll send out as well. So who are we? Mason Interactive is a boutique digital marketing agency founded in 2009. I actually joined shortly after that, when we were in a small setting in Long Island, and now we're in New York City, and we're also in a new location in North Carolina, which is very exciting. We focus on e-commerce, direct-to-consumer, and EDU specifically. We are a Google Premier partner and a Facebook marketing partner as well. And that number 40, I think it's even changed today, 40 clients globally, and it keeps growing. So that is us. So let's talk about why we're all here. We want to talk about some SEO keywords. So Marissa, can you chat us through this?
Sure. So Moz defines keywords as ideas, topics that define what your content is about. In terms of SEO, they're the words and phrases that searchers enter into search engines, also called search queries. So basically, as an SEO, a lot of people ask me what I do. And when I say search engine optimization, they were like, what? So just the other day, my grandparents actually asked me what I do. So I had to explain it in layman's terms. So basically, the simplest way to explain SEO and keywords is, if you're a seltzer company and someone searches in Google for seltzer near me, you're going to want to show up for that. Your website should be there. So if you don't have the word seltzer on your website, there's no chance you're going to show up. So, keywords in simple terms, having the word seltzer on your website is important to show up for that keyword.
Amen. Yes, nobody knows what I do for a living. It's a common theme, but we're getting there. Maybe they should join this webinar. Okay, so do your research. So there's a couple of things to keep in mind when you're talking about keyword research. So search intent comes up a lot. So the idea of search intent is the goal of the search query. So somebody typing in anything into Google, as we just talked about, Marissa said, seltzer, anything is either to learn more about something or to transact. So you want to either buy something, learn more about something, get more information, sign up for something. There's always an intent behind the search term. So discovery might be something like dog breeds, right? So if I'm somebody's searching for dog breeds, they're not necessarily looking for a pet store near them. They're not necessarily looking for a dog breeder near them. I hope not. Adopt, don't shop. So dog breed, that term, that search intent behind that would probably most likely be discovery. Somebody looking to learn more about dog breeds in general. And then something like even more general, coronavirus, right? So somebody's looking to just learn some information. That's not a transactional keyword. They're not going to go, buy anything for that. But something more along the lines of transactional, like for instance, urgent care near me. So, right. So that kind of spitballing through that coronavirus keyword. If you are a local urgent care, you would want to optimize your specific site for something like urgent care near me. Same thing, another transactional example, women's black sneakers, size 7. That's a pretty specific term. So if you have a website that sells women's sneakers, that's something that you would want to focus on. So another example, types of glasses, that could either be discovery or transactional. So the current results for types of glasses has something like a result from WebMD. There's something there for discountglasses.com. And then that person might also be trying to find different types of drinking glasses. So this keyword, when we're talking about search intent, it's to identify what keywords your ideal customer or visitor would be typing in to find you. So we really want to hone in and get the best possible version. It's important also to look into the competition, right? So non-descriptive keywords tend to have high competition. That's a no-brainer. So something like the term eyelashes. So we have a client that sells false eyelashes. So if they told us that we want to show up for eyelashes, sure, not totally, not something that we could say, sure, we can do this tomorrow, but that's a long-term goal. But when we look at the competitors, something like Ulta, Sephora, Amazon, Target, all these big wigs show up for that term eyelashes. So to start, something more like long false eyelashes would be something that we can target, create content around, and it would be more lucrative to a transactional keyword. Marissa, you want to talk to us about what we look for here in terms of current results?
Sure. So you may think you know what you want to rank for, but it's always a good idea to check Google when you're doing your research. I had a client who was a basement waterproofing company, and he specialized in crawl space encapsulation. And what that is, I had to research. was basically enclosing a, so I did some research on how to encapsulate, and as you can see, it's, enclosing a crawl space so that it doesn't get moldy. All of the results are about encapsulating your crawl space. Everything here is all about crawl space encapsulation. So when I saw this, I was like, great, we can do a blog about this. And then I did a little more research and just changed it to how do you encapsulate? And it was all about placenta encapsulation.
Oh boy.
So as you can see here, it's all of this is all about placenta encapsulation. So all I did was change 2 words in my search, and a whole search intent changed. So that is why it is really important to check the current results when you're doing your research, to make sure you're not optimizing for something that is totally off the mark.
Amen. That was disgusting. So I'm kidding, but true, important, because our job is to make sure that us as the experts, but also if you're doing this at home or doing this for your business, you might think you want to rank for something, but when you dig deep and find your research and look at your competitors and look at what the results return for some of your searches, you might be extremely surprised. Hence, how to encapsulate. So let's not make those mistakes. We're going to talk about a step-by-step process that we perform ourselves here at Mason, and it's something that's definitely replicatable. So identifying the most important keywords. What we do first every time is take an inventory, right? So we want to identify all products, if it's an e-commerce site, all programs, if it's something like an EDU site, or services, if it's something like home services, or just anything that's not a tangible item. So we're taking an inventory. I like to do it in an Excel spreadsheet. So, you can do it anywhere, Post-it note, Microsoft Word, whatever suits you. But taking that first inventory is the first step. So you're just looking at it eye to eye. Okay, here's all the things that I offer. Then you kind of reshape that into a list of things that you think you should show up in search results for. So that might be the names of all your programs. That might be liberal arts college near me, or it could be flight school in Tulsa. It could be long mink eyelashes. It could be difference between mink and false eyelashes, things like that. So you're getting your inventory ready. Then, as Marissa just proved, you want to just do a quick Google search, not only to identify the search intent behind the keywords you think you should rank for, but just getting a feel for your competitors. So you might think that, this person that's been a thorn in your side since you launched your business is your competitor, but really, if they're not showing up anywhere near you, they're not necessarily your direct competitor in SEO specifically. So it's a good idea to just get a feel for who your competitors are, what they're showing up for, and why. So this is, again, a little bit of a manual, lengthy process, but it's very, very important. And then we take all that information that we've learned. We have the inventory, we have the results. Now we use our tools. So some of these tools we use, some paid, some free. So Google Keyword Planner is free, but it is definitely geared a lot towards pay-per-click marketing. So digital marketing, paid advertising. But you could also use it to find, search trends. You can find search volume. So we like to use that as well. Internally, we'll use things like SEMrush and Moz. These are SEO specific tools that have really great keyword metrics. And then Marissa's going to talk to us in a little bit about also asks, but I mentioned search volume a bit. So this chart comes from SEMrush. So when I was looking for, let's say, pet costumes, right? So Halloween's coming up. My kids get a kick out of seeing my dogs dressed up like minions or hot dogs or something. So I did this search just with the intent, let's pretend we owned a costumes shop. So something like pet costumes for dogs is a search volume of around 1,000 per month. It's higher. See that little peak in trend? This is around now. September, October is when it peaks. And then you scroll down to something like Christmas pet costumes for dogs, a little bit more long tail, a lot less search volume. So stuff like this, we can take all of them and we could try to rank for all these keywords, but realistically, we want to make sure we're targeting the highest search volume, the high search volume keywords that's going to bring in the most traffic to us. So, Marissa, can you talk us through this? I know you like to use this tool a lot.
Yeah, so Also Asked is a free tool, which I love. And it's a really great way to get the ideas flowing for any topic ideas or just starting your keyword research, because basically what it does is it takes a generic term that you put in and branches out and gives you all questions related to that. So what people are searching. Unfortunately, it doesn't have search volume and it's just questions. But like I said, it's a great place to start in your keyword research and your topic research. So here I put in engineering. That's okay. I put in engineering school and it branched out a bunch of topic questions related to that. So how long does it take to become an engineer? What engineer makes the most money? What job will get you rich? And what is the hardest career to study? All questions relating to engineering school. So after that, we'll then narrow down the list. So this is what a typical keyword list looks like from Mason. It's usually longer, but for the purposes of this webinar, I did about 13 keywords. So you'll have the keywords there and then search volume and whether you want to keep or delete them. And we got search volume data and the rest of the keyword research from SEMrush. So what is the hardest engineering major, best engineering field for future? Those were both from Also Asked. And what jobs will get you rich was also from Also Asked. But we decided to delete that one because if you're a university, you're not really going to be able to tailor any content to that topic. I can't imagine a respectable university writing a blog about what jobs will get you rich.
I don't think compliance department would like that one very much.
And same thing with engineering girls. So in Also Asked, there were a bunch of questions relating to girls in the engineering field, which is definitely great to put content on your website for. But particularly engineering girls, that key phrase we decided to delete because looking in at the current results, it's actually a TV show. So a university most likely does not want to compete against a TV show for that key term. So we decided to delete that one.
And initially, I think at first glance, I was offended by that term until you told me it was a TV show. I could see us doing something like successful females in engineering or something like that. So, exactly. But yeah, again, this goes back to search intent. So that's really interesting that you picked that out. So more and more, we're finding out that the search intent is huge. You need to make sure that we're not only showing up for the right keywords, but we're going after the right keywords. So we could have a client that says, no, I really, really need this keyword because my boss says we need to be #1 by tomorrow. And we get that a lot. And we understand that there's pushback and we want to make sure that we're making, giving the right advice and we're giving the right, keywords to track. So we'll always track as many keywords as possible, right? So we want to make sure we have our finger on the pulse of a campaign. But when we're considering having a full list of keywords, what might be the next step? That's a good question. So if we have a good list, we want to measure it, right? So it's only as good as, we're not going to just keep doing manual searches every time. We want to see where we're ranking. It's not going to be any use. So what we'll use is ranking software. We like to use keyword.com and a combination of Moz and SEMrush. These are paid tools, but there's Google Search Console. Every business owner can have access to Google Search Console. You can see where your keywords are performing. You can see, any site health issues. I highly recommend it if you haven't set up Google Search Console to do that. But having a baseline keyword rank report, knowing where you stand, even if you've had your website for 10 years and you haven't tracked anything, having something visible and something that's measurable to see, okay, I already know that I want to go after long false lashes. I already know that I want to go after lion dog costumes, you know. So we want to make sure that, okay, where am I stacking up against my competitors that I've identified? What are they doing that I'm not? What am I doing better that they're not? So it's just important to track and measure. So this is an example of something that we'll use internally, and we, you know, obviously make it look nice for client purposes, but just kind of rough view of what we look at. So this is an actual client. I can show this to you because it's publicly available information. But when you're looking at keywords, something like, for example, eyelash scissors, right? So that has a search volume of 590. It's pretty decent, right? So when we first started with the client, they were ranking nowhere. So it was way over 100. So not even on the search results page. And by identifying that that was a valid term, that the search intent was there, it was transactional, the competitors were realistic, and that there wasn't any different search intent, you know, other than, you know, eyelash scissors to take off your false eyelashes. So we were able to target, and this is only about less than a month, we were able to target that keyword, and we're already up about 89 positions to position 11. Again, not anything to write home about, but still progress. And this is why you need to track and measure. So we're able to see, okay, heated lash curler was on the second page. Now it's on the first page. Let's keep going. What else can we do to make sure that we show up for heated lash curler, and so on and so forth. So we reference things like this on a daily basis. We share monthly or sometimes bi-monthly the results. So setting the foundations for SEO best practices. So we did a lot of, you know, I've been talking a lot about the search intent, gathering your list, tracking it, making sure that you're getting the right information. But when you are looking at, let's pretend it's even a site that's, you know, 50 pages, it's not that big. You might be forgetting some information that you have hiding that's not necessarily visible on the homepage. So what we like to do is crawl and export all URLs. So we want to do a crawl. You can do this many ways. This is a tool that we use internally. It's called Screaming Frog. Not to give away all of our secrets, but we will crawl all of the URLs just to get an overview of where our, you know, how many pages are on the site. From there, I'll dump it into an Excel spreadsheet. And from here, this is kind of like the holy grail. We always reference our keyword map in everything we do in SEO. So establishing this at the baseline of any good SEO campaign is almost mandatory. So we want to make sure that, okay, I have a page called lion pet costume. Of course, my primary keyword, you know, I know that it should be lion pet costume, but I also want the variations because I did my research. I know that lion costume for pets has 800 search volume per month. I know that lion dog costume, another variation, has about 500 searches per month. So looking at these items, you know, I already have now a full list of information. I want to target these keywords. And then what? So now I have a list. I'm tracking them. I identified keywords for every single URL on my website. Now let's put them on the website, right? So I'm going to implement them. Where do I start? So I'm taking the highest priority keywords first, usually. So I showed you that screen grab before of the lashes, the false lashes, lash scissors had, you know, 600 searches per month. So that seemed like a good place for me to start. What do I do with it? Okay, exact match versus keyword density. Exact match is something, you know, let's say 10 years ago, you were able to put on your page, on your website, lash scissors 10 times, right? And it would, you would be ranking tomorrow if I did that. So keyword density, that's still a term that people throw around, but you don't need to do that anymore. Google is getting, you know, more and more advanced, understanding conversational search. So for example, if my target phrase is home decor, I have a website about home decor. On that home decor page, I might want to have similar semantic related keywords that are about decorative pillows. When you're rearranging your home with home decor, you might want to use wall art or area rugs or similar searches like that. And then you could go to conversational. So that tool that Marissa showed us, also ask.com. If I typed in something like neoprene, that's a fabric for that one of our clients uses for their bags. So if I typed in neoprene, it might come back and say, is neoprene durable? Is neoprene washable? Okay, I like that one. I'm going to create a blog post about it. What else should I include in it? Some similar keywords to target is some of the products that I have: neoprene backpack, waterproof backpack, neoprene care. So when you're not just the point of my story is you're not just taking keywords and pasting them onto your website. You're thinking about them in a thoughtful way, and making sure that your content speaks to anything similar to what you're trying to rank for. Marissa, you want to walk us through this next part?
Yeah, so write for the user, not the search engine. What does that mean? So you want to make sure that your content speaks to the keywords that you just researched and assigned to each page in your keyword map. So take what you did from the keyword map and then apply it to your pages. So if we're going with the lion pet costume example, a core page for that would be the product page, lion pet costume. So you obviously want to optimize that page and sprinkle in keywords and related keywords all throughout that page. You then want to go in the back end and put it in the title, meta description, images, any headers, anything like that. Try to put in keywords and related keywords, as well as the product description. Those are all important to do to let Google know that this page is about lion pet costumes. And a good way to get it into a blog even is to, write a blog about like funniest Halloween costumes 2020 for pets. And then you can highlight the lion pet costume, have a link back to the product page, and put in some keywords there as well.
Perfect. I think I might have to get a lion pet costume for my dog. All right, so key takeaways. We talked about a lot. I know we kind of bombarded you with keyword research, but what does this roadmap look like? What did we just talk about? So doing your research, making sure that, the things that you thought, a few years ago you want to rank for, it might not necessarily speak to what the search results page looks like now, right? Because we have ads, we have local businesses ranking, we have Wikipedia articles, we have knowledge panel on the right hand side. So there's a lot going on. We want to make sure that the keywords that you are wanting to show up are the correct ones. So you do your research, then you do the keyword map. That's always the most important. So assigning specific keywords to specific pages, and this is an ongoing process, right? So it's kind of like that trend tool I showed you before, where you see the search volume and you could see the trends. So I know that with the holidays coming up, we're going to be needing to reflect some keywords on pages for certain holiday keywords, right? So same thing for Mother's Day, or new start dates for schools. We want to make sure that we're hitting those types of keywords, so that our campaign isn't flat. We're not just saying here's these 20 keywords that we're ranking for and we're going to just set it and forget it. Even with e-commerce, we're continuously evolving. Even if you don't have new products, or you only have one product, Google's changing and trying to answer questions that people are constantly asking. Like I mentioned, is neoprene washable? How long does it take to get from this school to this mall? Like certain questions that we want to make sure that we have content to answer to the people who are asking them now. So then implement. Marissa talked us through how to implement those. And, it's obviously easier said than done, but making sure that you have the content that speaks to those keywords, and you don't have to put, the keyword that you think you should rank for 15 times in the page and make it sound like it's written for a robot. And then measure, right? So we want to make sure we're keeping an eye out on where we stack up against the competitors. So you want to make sure that the keywords that we're targeting are improving. And if they're declining, what can we do about it? And that's a whole other topic, which we will get to in our next series. But now I'd really like to take some time to answer some questions. So I'm going to stop my screen share. Hi, there we are. All right, cool. So I'm going to read some questions. Thank you guys for spending some time with us. We really appreciate having you. And again, if we don't get to all the questions now, we will send out an email and answer them for you. Okay. So there's a question from Natalia that says, if I want to rank for a specific keyword, can I optimize every single page for that keyword? Marissa, you want to answer that? Do you have to optimize
Yes.
every page?
So you have to optimize every page, but you don't want to do it for the same keyword. So what we talked about with implementing on your keyword map, each page should have unique keywords, because then they'll be, it's called canonicalizing. It's hard to say. Each page will then be competing against each other. So it is important to have unique focus keywords for each page.
Cool. Yes, perfect. Yeah, so you don't want to oversaturate your website with the same keywords. So having unique content for each unique keyword is key. So Brad asked, how important is word order in the search? For example, hot pet dog costume versus hot dog pet costume. So I mentioned earlier about semantic searches and machine learning, Google's machine learning. So Google's updating their algorithms regularly to ensure that they're understanding content and using, understanding terms that are next to each other versus in a paragraph below it. So to answer your question in the short version, it's not as important as it used to be. So you used to have to put exact match hot dog pet costume a bunch of times for Google to understand that this page is about a hot dog costume for a dog. Now, not so specifically, and as long as it makes sense. So it could be dog costumes, small dog costumes with a hot dog on top. So if you're talking about it in the way a human would read it, chances are you're going to rank for those terms. We do so. Again, that's a long story short. We look into those things and we want to make sure that the content speaks to the user, like we talked about, and not just for the search engine. So
James actually had a question about that. Okay. How often do search engines make changes, which you mentioned a little bit? Basically, they change every single day, small changes usually, but there are bigger changes that happen multiple times a year. And how we, prepare for that for our clients is we just stay on top of SEO trends, and we read all the articles about all the updates. And, we're always doing best practices for Google. So any change that does come, any updates that Google do, we usually, follow along, because we are doing SEO best practices.
Yes, exactly. So some of those larger algorithm updates, like there was one a few months ago, a core update, there's another one looming ahead. It's almost always surrounding on content quality. So again, keyword stuffing is a no-no. So that's something that we don't condone. So as Marissa says, best practices. So I'm going to answer one more question, and then we'll, again, if there's any more that comes in, we will answer them and send them to you guys. There's a question, what's an optimal number of keywords to go after when starting this process? I love that question, because I could sit here in a small website, I can come back with 300 keywords. Again, not ideal. I always like to say to go after about roughly 3 to 4 keywords that are very similar. So you wouldn't want to have hot dog costume and water glasses and kids shoes all on the same page, because they don't make sense and they're not similar. So I would always recommend having like 2, 3, 4 similar keywords per page and go from there. If you are just going out and saying, I want to rank for 300 of these keywords, but your site is only 50 pages long, let's do the math and figure out, okay, we're not just going to optimize to optimize. Let's figure out what are the keywords most benefit for the product and service, or do we want to write an article about it to try to gain users in through those discovery keywords? So it's a healthy mix of those. And I think all of those are very important. There's never that sweet spot number to choose. It's really about what is going to return the best visitors, and in turn, what are going to capture the most leads for you. So thank you guys for joining us. We really appreciate you spending time with us. Thank you for all these great questions. We hope we answered them for you. And we will be back in 2 weeks. Hopefully we'll see some of you again. And yeah, we hope you have a great day. And thanks again for stopping by. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.